My name is Michael Asday, and I am Ron and Betsy's silent partner from Maryland. I'm silent because I'm so far away. I want to apologize again for this, for the technical difficulties, but most of you, if not all of you in this room, know the story anyway. Tonight is really a celebration about a launch of a company, but more so a rebirth, if you will, of someone who has been an inspiration to us all. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce everyone, the CEO, co-founder of LeanOnWe, Ron Gold.
I never said this was a tech company. I could finish the video. I know what happens next. November 26th, 2011. The scene that you were about to see when it crashed during the crash still gnaws at me. I was on my way home from a 50-mile ride with my good friend Zach. My eyes, you have to move this. The angle is not very good. Move it back. Well, I guess not. Never mind. Okay. Anyway, I was on my way back. My eyes were on Zach's rear wheel, and then out of nowhere, on a quiet country road, comes an SUV. I don't know how a woman falls asleep on a Saturday afternoon, and she came into me head on, and Zach suffered a broken hip, months of rehab, and she nearly killed me. I think about that moment every day, and I know that I'm going to think about it for the rest of my life. I don't remember a lot from the time after it happened. In the almost 2 months that I was in ICU, one of the only things I do remember is my neurosurgeon, Dr. Human Azmi, coming in to tell me that I'd never walk again. And he had to come in 3 more times before it would really sink in. Once I was transferred to Kessler for rehab, I went to sleep every night hoping that when I woke up, everything would be as it had been before. I did that every night, and every morning it was the same result. Nothing had changed. And I would like to change what happened, but there isn't anything I can do about it. At first, when I came home, the magnitude of what had happened prevented me from moving on with my life. It was difficult to let the anger go. Why me? Zach and I weren't doing anything wrong. I credit my 3 girls, Stephanie, Jacqueline, and Alexandra. Stephanie, Alexandra, and Jacqueline, not to do it out of order. At least I didn't forget it. That would have been worse. Along with Betsy, for providing the support and the encouragement to move on. All of them channeled their inner Betsy to encourage me to move on and figure out what my new life would be. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, next to standing up here right now. Some people have said that I'm an inspiration. I don't feel like I'm an inspiration. I'm just trying to move on with my life the best way I can. And if that inspires people, well, then that's fine. I've always had an inner drive to succeed. This was true in most things that I did, and particularly it carried over onto my career at Wall Street. From the ashes of the Lehman bankruptcy, I built an Asian sales desk from scratch for Barclays. How could I get that attitude? How could I get that drive? And how could I get that purpose back? At the same time, Betsy and I were wrestling with the problem of getting care at home. Insurance covered my care through an agency for a short term. But when that coverage ran out, we had to pick it up, and we were on our own, out of pocket. And it was expensive. At that point, what we really wanted to do was hire a caregiver privately. We figured it'd be cheaper. We'd get to choose who we want, and we'd have the control over scheduling without a middleman. So we would benefit by paying less, and the caregiver would benefit by paying more. When we asked around and spoke to others, we realized that many had encountered the same problem. Most people, when they want to hire privately, end up getting a recommendation of a neighbor's friend's aunt that they used a year or two ago, who may or may not be the right person for you and may not fill the needs that you have. If that doesn't work, they go to an agency. If that doesn't work, they put an ad in Craigslist. We didn't think that was a very good idea. It seemed silly to us that there wasn't a better way to go about finding a caregiver who wants to work privately. But there really wasn't. The more we thought about it, the more we realized that this was a huge problem to address. And it was only going to get bigger as we aged and people needed more care. If we could figure out how to transform the way Americans find the right caregiver, then we really might have something. We relied on the experience of the caregivers we knew well. Linda Scott, who's my wonderful caregiver to this day, and Godwin Badu, who cared for my dad. And we had them help us understand the industry and what it would take to create a company that would work well for the caregivers as well. We could create a network of caregivers, a network that we would meet, screen, verify, validate, background check, and then they would enter our website. We'd create a bio, we'd create a video, and we'd upload it all online onto our website. And that is what we have done with the help of a few key people. First, Michael Asday, who dropped everything when he heard the idea because he thought it was such a great idea. Second of all, our first employee, Susan Liebeskin, who is much more than a first employee. That's really the icing on the cake. Susan has been everything for our family these past 3.5 years. Whenever we've needed her, whenever we've needed anything, she was always there without asking. And if I haven't said it enough, or if I haven't said it at all, thank you very much. Thirdly, I want to thank Denise Hubert. Just a moment. I was looking at the other page. I knew I should have memorized it. Denise, who believes so much in the idea that she dropped everything from a hotshot job at Cabrini to join us, for the opportunity to schlep me around to meetings in New York. I invite you to learn as much as you can about LeanOnWe. So many of you have asked over the years how you can help me. Today, you can help by spreading the word about LeanOnWe. Before I wrap up, I want to thank each of you for allowing me to get to this day. And I know that sounds like hyperbole, but it really isn't. Many of you did so many things that I never even knew about because I was busy hallucinating in an induced coma. You brought food. You gave Alexandra lifts to school and elsewhere. You packed the waiting room at the hospital, and boy, did you give blood. You prayed in many different languages and many different religions. Just a shout out to Gil Troy in Jerusalem, who ran over to the Western Wall when he heard to put a specific prayer for me there. And many of you filled the courtroom to support us there as well. Other people, my sister, Nina, and my brother, Chuck, picked up the ball to help my parents as my dad was starting dialysis. My siblings-in-law, Ann Cohn, Eileen August, and Raviv Rohn, were there to do anything and everything. And Stacy, even while recovering, helping Zach recover, was there to support us every step of the way. And then I also want to mention my in-laws, Pauline and Leo August, who at 90 years old moved into our house to help the household keep going while Betsy was caring for me. I know there are others that I will leave out, but I must mention a number of very close friends who not only helped me with support and encouragement, but also helped me think about the concept of building this business. So that would be Steve Greenberg, that would be Mike Rosenberg, Brian Sterling, Brian Berger, Dan Anticall, Gardner Semmett, Val Ondas, Richard Sheldon, Seth Marin and Ann Heyman, and Michael Wolfson. As many of you know, there were 3 phases to my recovery. I was told before I started, above all else, make sure you don't fall. But my physical therapist there to make sure I'm okay. But the recovery could never even have happened if it hadn't been for the smart and quick-thinking actions of the first responders, EMT crews, police, and fire. I don't know if any are here. I guess not. Okay. So Zach and I have agreed that we're going to go over there and meet with them and give them a donation as an appreciation for what they've done. So as I said, there were 3 phases to my recovery. The first phase was at Hackensack. And of the 47 doctors that I had, 5 are most notable that I want to mention. Dr. Ari Seidenstein, Dr. Bindu Balani, Dr. Frank Ciminello, Dr. Rick Winters, and Dr. Frank Corporaci. As well as my sister Nina, who's an ER doctor, and Dr. Mark Rubman, a good friend who's also an orthopedist, and my cousin Philip Turner, who I think actually runs Hackensack as far as I can tell, and was always there to make sure I was well taken care of. The second phase of my recovery was at Kessler for rehab. I went there for both inpatient and outpatient. I had incredible care there. One person in particular that I wanted to mention was my favorite nurse, Martha Tully, who is here. And I know I saw her earlier, so I know she is here. She did so much to help me adjust to my new world. I also had some great physical and occupational therapists. Both inpatient, particularly outpatient, though. And for outpatient, I worked with Buffy Wojciechowski and Cindy Granger, amongst others. My third phase was here at the Y, and that is why we are having this party here today. I came here and worked out with Isaac Garlov over there. Isaac has a PhD in anatomy and physiology and prior experience with spinal cord injury. I continue to work with him from my home, and in conjunction with Buffy and Cindy, he was able to do wonders to improve both my physical and mental well-being. But most of all, I want to thank Betsy, who's been incredible throughout my entire recovery. She was always there. I mean, always there. She held everything together. She nursed me back to health. And I have no doubt that without her, I wouldn't be here today. To close, I think I may have skipped a page or something. I'd like to close by introducing my 3 daughters, Stephanie, Jacqueline, and Alexandra. It's because of them that I was able to find my way and find my purpose. I knew how to teach them that I knew I had to teach them that no matter what happened, no matter what life throws your way, and I pray that you never have to deal with the kind of sadness and challenges that I've had to deal with, that no matter what, you have to figure it out, you have to give yourself a plan, you have to find out what it takes to motivate you, and you have to move on. Thank you very much.
I'll try to keep it short, but I have a few things I'd like to say. As you know, it was 3 years ago this week, and like now, it was just days before the holiday of Passover. Perhaps appropriately, the story of the Jewish people's release from bondage coincided with Ron's release from 5 months in the hospital. And we brought him home to Hillsdale. He was in a giant power electric wheelchair. He needed a hospital bed to help him just sit up, and he had nurses and caregivers coming and going all day to help him bathe, dress, eat, sleep, shave, just about everything. We bought a special van so we could transport him. We outfitted the garage with ramps so he could get in and out of the house. We converted my office on the main floor into our bedroom so Ron would have a place to sleep. He could hardly stay awake during the day, and he had wounds that still needed to be treated, IV infusions that needed to be run, and a host of other very complicated issues, even once he was home. He was far from recovered, but it was great to have him back in Hillsdale. We specifically chose this 3-year milestone to bring you all here, not only to celebrate how far Ron has come, but to truly tell you that without you, whether you are Eileen Schneider, who baked Passover desserts for our Seder when I was too busy settling Ron back home, or Billy Borer, who sent cheery texts to me almost every morning, or Karen Angrist, or Tom Hodges, Daphne Semet, Deb Bornstein, Philip Turner, Merlana Morris, all longtime healthcare professionals who more recently have given Ron the approval and encouragement that LeanOnWe is a unique, much-needed concept to help Americans find the right care at home. I know Ron thanked you, many of you already. If you could just bear with me for 2 more minutes of thanks, I must say again, publicly, that without the specific help of my cousins, Michelle and Steve Klausner, Rilly and Louis Myron, my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, Nina and Raviv, we could not have done all of this. We couldn't have designed and built a brand new house to accommodate Ron. We couldn't have moved all our stuff, some people say crap, and get resettled. And also, as Ron mentioned, my parents. I mean, it is unbelievable what they did. After my mom turned 90, which happened in the months before Ron's accident, we made a family decision that they and my sister Eileen would move from Florida up to New Jersey so they could be nearby me in the event that they had a crisis. Well, we all know I was the one who had a crisis. They came and stepped in a flash. They moved into our house. They kept the family running smoothly. Our girls on schedule with meals and schoolwork and driving and sleeping and waking up on time. all this at 90 years old. I know Ron thanks Susan, but it goes without saying, and those of you who know Susan and her husband Pete will know what I mean when I say that everyone should have a support system in their lives that includes Susan. Not only did Susan and her family arrive at the hospital shortly after I did on November 26, 2011, she brought food. I remember peanut butter. I don't know why. And she hardly left my side for weeks. I always felt that with Susan, I didn't have to worry, that she would help me make good decisions, help manage the throngs of friends and family who wanted updates and wanted to visit, and that her family would be okay to manage themselves because they knew and understood how needed she was for us at that time. There just aren't enough words to thank her. When I look out at the 173 people here today, I'm in awe. Wow. And I know many of you want to know how we did it, how we got to this point from near death. Whenever Ron felt like his life was over, I told him he wasn't looking at things the right way. Dr. Joyce Feitenbaum at Kessler Rehab told me once that things would change for the better when Ron started to see himself as a survivor of the accident and not a victim of it. She couldn't have been more on point. And to that end, when Ron felt for so long that his life was over, I viewed it differently. I told him that he should have died in that crash. There was no way anyone on the scene that day or any doctor or any nurse in the ER or the OR on November 26th and the weeks following thought that he should be alive today. Few people on the planet could suffer that much massive trauma and live to tell about it. Yet many times he felt he'd be better off if he had died, that the road ahead was too difficult. I told him he already died, and he wasn't going to die again anytime soon if I had anything to do with it. His road, unlike those of some of our dear friends who are battling terminal cancer, his road was just beginning. It was uphill from here, and we would climb that hill together. Early on, I told Ron many times that he had three choices. I saw three choices about how he could deal with what happened. He could be a guy who at 51 lost the life he knew and never could quite come back from that. And that would be fine. People would understand, and they'd probably even expect it. The girls and I would always love him, and we'd always help him. But they are young, our daughters, and they have lives to lead, and I do too. And I told him it would be a shame if he chose not to be an important part of us anymore. Or I told him he could feel sorry for himself, sorry that he can't do anything anymore, feel like he's too much of a burden. He could move himself into an assisted living facility. I suggested he could move with his parents. We would promise to visit him as often as we could. But again, the girls had lives to lead, and so did I. And it would be a shame if he chose not to be part of it. Or there was option 3. We could figure out a way to move forward, to be resilient, and to get on with the life he has ahead of him. This new, different, horrendously difficult, often unmanageable, and sometimes downright scary life. I have to tell you, from my perspective, options 1 and 2 weren't really options. But you know, everyone needs to feel like they have choices. So we're here today working hard every day to bounce back, to lead the life that was handed to us in the best way we can, and with all the generous and ongoing support from the people who are here today, the people who love us, and the people who've helped us. We decided that, yes, we couldn't help that Ron was in a wheelchair, although he seems to manage to have got himself out of that wheelchair. But we could be role models for our girls and show them that although they had to learn at a very young age that life is not always fair and that things don't always go the way we want them to, how we choose to move forward will make all the difference in the world. Our youngest daughter, Alexandra, who was 14 at the time of the accident, recently wrote a college admissions essay about being resilient. She told her story so poignantly that the regional admissions director of a major university reached out to tell her how impressed she was with her. For me, that was a major sign of hope that we can figure out how to do this and how to lead our lives the best we can. Thank you. Okay, so can I have some light? Do you need lights?
Yeah, they can turn the lights on.
Can we turn the lights on, please? On, please, yes, thank you. Okay, so first I want to say that, hold on one second, just get my notes so I know what I'm saying. I want to remind you that you're all here today at the very, very beginning of LeanOnWe. And it's really exciting for us. And I want you to think about what it would have been like if you were in a room like this the day they started Uber. Okay? Just think about that. So you're here, and we're here, and I want you, like Ron asked, if you could help us. I want to just go through a couple quick talking points, and then I'll be done speaking. We have a special guest who I want to bring up in a minute as well. Okay. So basically, when you talk to people about LeanOnWe, some people don't even know how to explain what we do. So I want to tell you that what we do is we help families hire caregivers privately. That's it. We meet the caregivers, we screen them, we vet them, we verify them. These are people that we would bring into our own homes, into Susan's home, Debbie's home, Clary's home, Amy's home, Lori's home, Denise's home, Mike's home. If they don't pass that test, they don't get on our network. Okay, so that's what we do. We carefully screen them. Then we give families control. There's so many things you don't have control of in life when you're in a situation of home care. When you hire a caregiver privately, you work with them, you have the control over their schedule, you don't have to deal with a middleman. It's working out tremendously for many, many people that we're working with. And we give you peace of mind, because we're there for you. When you call LeanOnWe, you're talking to me or Denise, and Denise has 25 years experience in the field, and I only have 3, but between us, we're pretty helpful. So what I'd like to do is call up one of our customers who so graciously agreed to join us here today. Her name is Rochelle Meyer, and she's going to talk to you just for a couple minutes about her experience with LeanOnWe.
Thank you, Betsy. Ron, we've never met, but the first thing I want to say is you are inspiration. Very As a recent client of LeanOnWe, I was asked to express my experience, which I'm happy to do. Early this year, I found myself in the emergency room with my 89-year-old mother, who up until that point was living independently in her own apartment in my building in Manhattan. While we were in the hospital, I was told that when she went home, she would have to have round-the-clock care. I work full-time. I was in a bit of a panic, but a man in the hospital gave me his card, said, "You're going to need aids, call me." Not knowing anywhere else or anybody else, I called him. I have to say the level of care givers that his agency provided was extremely subpar and quite an experience. I didn't even feel safe leaving my mother and going to work with these people. Fortunately for me, I have a good friend, Leslie, who's here tonight, who had a colleague. She has a background in the business, and she also had a colleague who had just recently started working for this agency. And I was able to connect with Betsy, and the first time I spoke to her, she was so empathetic and so understanding and so helpful that I went with the agency and agreed to have them provide aids from this agency. The only thing I can say is the comparison was unbelievable. The aids that this agency provided to care for my mother around the clock was far superior to some of the other people out there doing this. They were professional, nurturing, and totally devoted to my mother's well-being. And she thrived, and she did come back. She's now happily in an assisted living facility outside of Manhattan, but I would not hesitate to use this agency again if the need ever arose. Thank you.
Okay,
Betsy, I just want to...
sure. Come up. This is our very good friend, Don Ashkenaz. Young Judea from Montefiore Hospital, from long-time friends.
I just wanted to say, Ron, you were talking about giving back, and between you and Betsy, LeanOnWe is such a powerful example of a way of meeting the needs of so many people whose needs would not be met. So think about what we just heard about, how meaningful that care was. So that will be part of your legacy, this organization, and think about every day how many people's needs are being met as professionally as has been described today. So thank you.
Ron is one of the foremost leading hospital administrators in the entire country. So, we didn't ask him to come up, so it's very heartwarming. Okay, so before you leave tonight, we're going to ask you to do two things.
Tell them to put the screen down.
Oh, okay. I'm going to ask you to do two things. You want me to put the screen
No,
up?
tell them to put the screen down.
Put the screen down.
Oh,
Okay, we're just going to ask you to do two things. One is if you could share today with your social media site of your choice. If you're on Twitter or Facebook, please post a message about your participation here today. Tag us. We're at LeanOnWe for Twitter, LeanOnWe for Facebook. Please tell the world about us. We also have an app. Kind of. We're going to call it an app. And we have our Crackerjack tech team in the back. So as you leave the room, we'd be happy to show you how to put the app. Can't really download it. We have to help you, but we're getting there. You can put it on your phone so that when you're talking to a friend and they're talking about trying to find a caregiver, you'll be able to show them right away what it is with LeanOnWe and show them videos of our caregivers and introduce them to LeanOnWe. That's what we're really asking you to do here today. And we're going to close today with a special LeanOnWe song. I'm going to ask Alexandra Gold, Mika Weinstein, and Kira Weinstein to please come on up and treat you to the song.
oh, I need that.
Pressing on button again.
Wait, hold on one sec. The words are going to come on the screen as soon as we have that together.
1 second, we're getting her. Okay, Kira will be right there.
It's coming up, you can see it on the side.
Can we have like a warm-up?
It's to the song Lean on Me. Choose. But we changed the words.
Is that good?
Move everything over. There you go.
Lean on me when you're not strong. We'll be your guide. We'll help you carry on. For it won't be long till you believe that Lean on We is for you. Call all our caregivers when you need some help, and we will be there for you forever. Day, night, or living, we do it all. So just pick up that phone and give us a call. Lean on We. We'll lend a hand to those who most need someone to lean on. Lean on We. And on that song, we'll be your guide. We'll help you carry on. For it won't be long till you believe that Lean on We is for you.
That ends our program tonight. Thank you all so much for coming, and please come and eat food. There's food. There's plenty of food, drinks, desserts. Thank you again for everything.